positive psychology does not mean that we don't have bad days or we're always going to be happy. There's no Pollyannas. We do have negative emotions and negative days, and it's about feeling it. But there are tools we can use to be preventative and also to shift the mood and to be our happiest.
Welcome to the Suburban Warrior Podcast, the podcast that inspires, educates, and empowers women navigating the chaos of midlife, perimenopause, and menopause. I am your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, a holistic health coach and fierce advocate for women's wellness. With a background in nursing, the pharmaceutical industry, and integrative nutrition, I blend medical expertise with a holistic approach to help women heal naturally, integrate science-backed therapies, and take control of their health. After enduring my own 10-year battle with perimenopause symptoms, I've made it my mission to ensure that no woman has to suffer in silence. Join me as I share expert insights, real-life stories, and actionable strategies to help women reclaim their vitality, prioritize their well-being, and redefine midlife wellness with grit and grace. What's up, warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissy Pfeiffer, back this week with another amazing Suburban Warrior here to share her expertise with us. Before we get into that, I want to remind you all to check out suburbanwarriorpodcast.com because there you can find our free From Pause to Power roadmap. This is simply a very comprehensive roadmap if you are in perimenopause or menopause, or maybe not even sure if you are, but it's everything I wish that I had about 10 years ago when I started going through perimenopause and experiencing all the symptoms. So that's a free download for you. Check it out. While you're there, also sign up for our Pause Like a Warrior newsletter, because basically that just drops in your inbox once a week, and it's all of the highlights from every podcast episode and also the latest news in midlife women's health. So check that out as well. So with that, I want to introduce to you my guest today. I'm very excited. I have on Diane Lang. She holds a master's degree in counseling and has been a college-level educator for 25 years. She's the author of 4 books, including Creating Balance and Finding Happiness, Baby Steps, The Path from Motherhood to Career, and Mindfully Happy, Waking Up to Life. Her most recent book, Worthy, explores the hidden causes of unworthiness, its deeper implications, and its connection to perfectionism and control. Drawing on decades of counseling experience, Lang empowers readers to confront feelings of inadequacy and find their inherent value. As a coach, educator, and positive living expert, Lang has dedicated her career to helping individuals transform their lives. Her mission is to help people cultivate a sustainable positive attitude, turning them into true optimists. Oh, I love that. Lang speaks on a range of mental and emotional health topics, including happiness, resiliency, stress management, parenting, positive aging, anxiety, and depression in both teens and adults. She specializes in positive psychology, positive education, and positive parenting, offering practical tools and insights to improve well-being. Welcome to the podcast, Diane.
Thank you so much for having me. Really excited to be here.
No, I'm really excited that you're here also because I was saying prior to us recording, I'm really excited for our conversation. I have such an interest in psychology, I love positive psychology and studied it for many years myself, and the effect on mindset and outcome in our lives, as well as just really understanding how our brains work, how our thoughts affect our emotions that affect our behavior, which affects our results and how we live our lives. So I'm really excited to have you on. So thank you for being here. First, I'd love for you to kind of tell us a little bit about yourself outside of the bio that I just read, because you have done a lot in addition to teaching college level courses and writing books. But tell us a little bit about sort of like your why behind you do what you do.
So like many of us who go into the psych field or counseling or social work, we've come from a little bit of a dysfunctional background. And I knew that I needed to heal. So when I finished undergrad, I really was thinking nursing, believe it or not, because we were just talking about that. But the thought of blood just didn't work for me. So I knew it had to be self-help and like helping others, but I just had to figure out where. And then when I started doing some of my own healing work, it just led to me going back to graduate school for counseling psychology and I graduated in my late 20s. which was another expensive form of counseling while you're in grad school for it. And I worked in the field for a while, and I realized that I really wanted to learn more about positive psychology, because when I went to grad school at the time, my college was a humanistic program, which in the 90s or late 90s was not really that popular. It was more about Freudian. So humanistic really led into positive psychology. So we had some classes at the end that really touched on it, and it was the beginning of positive psychology when it was coined in 1998. So I guess about 10 years later, I went and got my positive psychology coaching certification just to get more information, which I really just love, because yes, we need to know about mental illness and, what makes us depressed and anxious and everything along those lines. But we never discussed what makes somebody happy, what makes somebody more optimistic or resilient, or just gives an overall well-being that we feel good with ourselves. And what about the functioning person who maybe doesn't have a diagnosis but is struggling with challenges in life? How can they be happier? And at the time, I was working with traumatic brain injury and spinal injury clients with drug and alcohol. And I started using a lot of the positive psychology interventions. And even with their memory issues, I was noticing such a change. Then about 10, 12 years ago, I got really sick. I have this very strange illness, but I could not swallow. Literally for the first few months, it was 2 months, couldn't swallow even my own saliva. I lost 28 pounds. And it took me on a very long journey because they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And at one point, one of the doctors just rubbed my back and she's like, "It's stress." And I'm like, "No, I'm in the field. I'm stressed because I can't eat, but it is not that." And I got really upset. And it took a very long time, and for a while they thought I had ALS, which was very scary. And the only thing that really worked for me, and I put myself back in counseling as, a client, but I started doing a lot of the positive psychology interventions. And not that it made me better physically per se, but it gave me coping skills that allowed me to handle what I was going through. Because even when we found out my diagnosis about 8, 9 months into it, they were like, "Well, you're not going to swallow for a long time. You're going to have these problems. You have nerve damage in your throat, so you're going to have problems swallowing for the rest of your life." So even though I got a diagnosis and I knew it wasn't ALS, I still knew I had a very long road ahead of me. So I really needed to do something that made a change. So watching my clients, but then being able to use the tools myself made such a huge difference, because, a lot of us teach it, but it doesn't mean we follow it. Right. We don't therapize ourselves very well. So it just really made a big difference. And then I just quit teaching college about 2 years ago and have just been speaking and writing and coaching, which has been really my dream to be able to do that, because you can affect a lot of people in one shot when you speak. Yeah. So I get to give a lot of tips and tools, because I consider myself an educational speaker where people leave with at least 3 to 5 tools to really manage, whether it's stress, anxiety, to be happier than where they are, shift the, bad mood into a good mood, but also knowing realistically, positive psychology does not mean that we don't have bad days or we're always going to be happy. There's no Pollyannas. We do have negative emotions and negative days, and it's about feeling it. But there are tools we can use to be preventative and also to shift the mood and to be our happiest.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting, just going back to what you said about psychology and humanistic psychology versus positive psychology, because positive psychology is a relatively newer field, right? I mean, it was really, developed by Martin Seligman here. I'm in Philadelphia, so here at Penn, and, in the 90s. And, and so it is for us a relatively new field, but when you start to learn about it, it just makes so much sense, right? So tell us a little bit, because you're talking about positive psychology interventions or certain strategies that you use maybe with, clients or with yourself. What are some of those strategies that, are positive psychology strategies that people can sort of use in their everyday life?
Sure. So it was coined in 1998 by Dr. Martin Seligman, who at the time was president of American Psychological Association, now runs a graduate school at UPenn. I'm in New Jersey, so I'm close. I'm a New Yorker, but moved to New Jersey, so who knows? Philly might be next. Just keep moving out. But positive psychology has interventions that we use with clients ourselves, and they're really happiness habits or happiness hygiene as well, where if you use them daily, make them part of your daily routine, they can boost your happiness. Now, the thing with happiness habits, or what I love about them, is they're realistic, they're easy to use, they don't cost anything, and they'll literally make changes in your life. Because I know as parents and moms, we're like, I have no more money left and I have no more time. My kids have taken everything. So I want it to be very realistic for everybody because we have busy lives. So one of my favorite habits, and the one that I used the most when I was sick, was gratitude. Yeah. Now, gratitude is a superpower to me because gratitude is, one, a positive emotion. So every time you feel grateful or thankful, you get a boost of happiness, which is great. On the other side, gratitude is also a form of mindfulness, and mindfulness plays a big role in positive psychology, which I love as well. So when you're mindful, you're in the here and now, and you're reducing your stress hormone cortisol naturally. So you're getting a boost of happiness while reducing your stress hormones. Who doesn't want that? The other thing is, if we use it daily, and I'll say how I have my clients doing and how I do it in a second, it actually starts rewiring your brain to notice the good in a bad situation. Again, doesn't mean we won't have negative or bad, but we're able to see that it's temporary, or see the silver lining, or see the purpose in the painful situation, which is huge. That's what makes us resilient, because we know we're going to have obstacles, setbacks, failures come our way. It's how we manage them. So gratitude was one of the most important ones. So what I have my clients do, the exact way, is I have them do it every night. Now, why I have them do it at night, and you don't have to do it at night, but the reason I choose night is whatever you're thinking about 20 to 30 minutes before you go to bed affects how you sleep, if you sleep, how you dream, and what mood you wake up in the morning. So whatever you're doing at night, you want it to be positive, because right before bed is where a lot of us get that rumination. We start thinking about our day, what didn't go right, what we have to do tomorrow. We start stressing out. So instead, I have my clients, and you can journal write it if you prefer, say it out loud, say it in your head, whatever works for you. Just ask yourself, what are 2 to 3 things I'm grateful for that happened today? And I want my clients to look through the day for the littlest gifts, blessings, and miracles, which is so important, because then you start seeing the good, because happiness is a perspective. Yes, we're going to have bad things, but where you put your attention and focus is where you stay. So if you put it all on the negative, which is very easy to do because we have a negative bias, we'll get stuck there. If we put our attention and focus on the good, the negative still exists, but again, we're able to see that silver lining, even if the silver lining is what we learned about ourselves, or the growth, or the resiliency that we built. So every night, just what are 2 to 3 things you're grateful for that happened today? And it could be the tiniest things. You had the best cup of coffee. You got into the building at work before it rained. Your kids didn't argue with you this morning about what they're wearing to school. It could be the smallest things. You're having a good hair day. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just about noticing it and kind of paying attention to it and really savoring those moments. And again, because it's a form of mindfulness, it helps you sleep. And because you're going to bed with positive thoughts, it's a more positive experience with dreams and waking up that way. So that's one of the first ones. And again, you could do it in your own way, but adding gratitude into your daily routine is so important. And just, on a side note, having a morning and an evening routine are some of the most important tools we have as well for ourselves, for our family, because it gives us something that we can feel secure about. We know this is going to happen. I'm going to have my morning coffee. I'm going to go for my morning walk. At night, I'm going to do my prayers, whatever it is. And it gives you something that is comfortable and familiar every day, which reduces our stress. And a morning routine sets you up for a day of success. An evening routine winds you down for a night of sleep. And gratitude is one of the best tools we can add to it. And if you do it every day, you'll start noticing. My clients will usually say it takes a few months, to change a habit, break a habit, form a new habit. Scientifically, it takes about 2.5, 3 months. I know we read, 28 days or a month. But for something to be autopilot lifestyle, you got to give it 2.5, 3 months. But most of my clients will say if they do it consistently, they notice that they see things differently. Like they're like, wow, I'll be like, that sucked, but I can see the good. Or it leaves quicker. Like, okay, this was horrible, but instead of ruminating on it for a week, In a day, it was gone. And they'll start noticing because they can see that it's temporary. They can see the good or the purpose, their lesson, their growth. And that's huge. So gratitude is a really good, easy place to start and get mindfulness and happiness.
Yeah, I absolutely love that because I feel the same way as well. Gratitude is something I have practiced. I have clients practice. What's funny is for me, I do a lot of my gratitude practice in the morning because it's my morning routine. And it is sort of that, like, before your 2 feet hit the floor, because a lot of times you wake up and it's like, the alarm goes off and you instantly have an attitude of, I don't want to get out of bed, or I got to go do this, or now the morning rush is going to start. But it's like changing that morning routine into a practice of gratitude and writing the 3 things down that you're grateful for and taking, time to sort of sit with yourself, whether it's for 5 minutes or whatever, to kind of start your day off on the right foot, because really how you start your day is how your day flows. But interestingly enough, I was just listening to a lecture in a recent certification that I was doing about what you said about doing it at night. It was about circadian rhythms and our dreams and sleep and that sort of thing. And it really is true. Like, people say like, oh, I'm going to sleep on it, when they're making decisions, but there's like some actual facts to that. Yeah. Because, if we ask ourselves a question or what we think about prior to our sleep, we are truly, if we ask that a question, when we go to sleep, we are, when we're in that deep sleep state in the beginning, we are in a state of creativity, like you said, forming new neural pathways. And that's when we can literally create answers to questions. And then, of course, our dream state where we can, get answers to questions. So it's really fascinating. And I love your suggestion of doing it at night. And gratitude is such a powerful, amazing practice. And it's so quick that if you even could just get into doing it morning, night, I think you would just see such a change and impact in your life. So that's a great suggestion of practicing gratitude. Gratitude is truly life-changing. It really is. It's
really a superpower. And another way
I love that you called it that. Yes, a superpower.
It is such superpower. And something you just said really clicked for me too is, we talk about dreams and creating. And for a lot of us, menopause takes away sleep. Perimenopause, sleep has not been the same. I will give you that. But if you want to get out of your autopilot and think differently, besides doing dreaming, we can do the psychology of flow, which is under positive psychology too, so if let's say you're trying to solve a problem, right? Our brains are like between 90 to 95% of the time, we're in that unconscious mode. We're on autopilot. So your brain tries to solve problems the same way over and over and over again. But if you do something that causes flow in your life, you get into that mindfulness state where you will think different and get that more creative, more productive. So what flow is literally an activity that you do, and it doesn't matter what it is. It's different for everybody, but it does a few things. It's something you love to do, but at the same time, it's challenging, but not too challenging that you want to give up, but challenging that it keeps you really interested and motivated. So you love it, you're challenged, and at the same time, you get that sense of timelessness. Like you thought you were going to do this for a half hour, an hour. The next, it's 2 hours later. You didn't hear the phone ring. You didn't hear your stomach growl. You're just so in the zone. And for some people, it's sports, like going for a walk or, baseball or the gym. For others, it's more creative. It's knitting, it's crocheting, it's drawing, it's writing, it's journaling. And for others, it's cooking, baking, cleaning, like, I don't imagine cleaning, but yes, I know a lot of people.
Some people love cleaning.
Yeah, I know. Not me. If any of you have that, please come over. I have plenty of flow for you. But in general, it's whatever works for you. So if you go into a flow state, let's say you're going to go for a walk and you're like, okay, this is a problem I have. I want to solve it. You put it up into the universe kind of thing. Go for your walk, listen to your music, do whatever you're doing. And you'll get different ideas because you're now in a conscious state of mind and you're out of autopilot. So we could do it with dreams, which is great. But for a lot of people, when they hit perimenopause, menopause, they don't sleep well. They're interrupted. They don't remember their dreams. So if you want to, you could do that flow. And my suggestion always is whatever causes flow for you, whatever it is, schedule it in the way you do a doctor's appointment, a business meeting, a PTA. Schedule it in once or twice a week, if not more, but to get that state of flow. And you'll notice, because again, when we're more mindful, we are more creative and productive, and we reduce stress. So it's a really important tool that we have too as well. So flow.
I love that. It's a great suggestion. I love the idea of flow because I think some people think that they have to work really hard at that. Right. And, you know, to your point, it can be something like a walk or like cooking. You know, I think people don't notice maybe when they're in that state of flow. So I think that's really fascinating and such a great suggestion. What is your state of flow? What do you like to do?
Well, exercising is a state of flow for me, and I make that part of my morning routine. Like yours is gratitude. Gratitude for me is at night, but in the morning, it is a non-negotiable. I work out almost 7 days a week unless I have to be up really early or I'm away on vacation. I make sure, because that's my sanity. If not, I might be snapping at everybody, especially, you know, living in the New York City tri-state area. Nobody can drive, right? Like, you know, we're always like fast-paced type A. So I get flow when I lift weights because of menopause. Well, the only way to lose weight and stay healthy is weightlifting, as we now know. Cardio does not work the same. And I try to walk a few times a week for mental health because it really is important. So walking, for me, learning. Like when I'm learning something, watching, you know, I'm part of Mind Valley because I like doing the programs and I learn. Anytime I learn, I'm in a state of flow. When I'm speaking, I'm in a state of flow. But again, it's so different for everybody. So really think about something that you love, that you get that timelessness and you really grow from it. You'll notice, if you pay attention, you'll start noticing what it is for everybody. Do you know what yours is?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's exercise for sure. Because I do that every day. And walking. I also love going out for walks outside in nature. So that is for me as well. I actually think driving is one for me as well. Like wow. I love sort of just being in my car, and sometimes but when I'm by myself, driving, being in silence, looking at everything around me. And I feel like that is when I can tap into a lot of creativity that normally doesn't come to me. Similar to like when you're in the shower, even the showers are shorter. You know, it's a time when I get a lot of downloads in the car. And so I think driving is one for me as well.
You know what, now that you say that, I always like have my phone next to me in the car so I can like put in my notes, like my voice, because I get stuff, not all the time, but probably when you're just like on a highway, you know where you're going, you're on autopilot and there's no traffic and you're just kind of cruising. Yeah, that's a good point. Didn't even think of that. So, all right.
It's one of those places for sure. Any other, besides gratitude and flow, which I love both of those amazing suggestions, like you said, free to everyone, accessible to everybody. What is another practice that we could do from a positive psychology standpoint?
So random acts of kindness.
Oh,
that is a big one.
Yeah.
So when we talk about kindness or gratitude, what we're talking about is positive emotions, right? We have negative emotions, and I hate calling them negative because they're natural and normal, but they're a little more intense. Stress, anxiety, fear, overwhelm. But on the other side, we have positive emotions, love, happiness, gratitude, kindness, awe, wonderment, inspiration, right? And we don't pay much attention to the positive emotions, which we should be doing. And the truth behind it, and this is an aging one that I love as well, because under positive psychology, it's a kind of an umbrella term. There's positive aging, which being in my 50s has become my favorite topic because, well, I'm aging. So it literally was like when I was, my daughter was younger, it was positive parenting. Then it turned into positive education when I was teaching in college and the schools. Now it's switched to positive aging. And one of the things we know is if we have a daily diet or a daily dose of positive emotions, we can balance out the negative, but we literally can live up to 7 years longer, healthier, and happier. Yeah. So one of the most important things we can do, and I have all my clients do this, is think about how can I get a daily dose of positive emotions, which you can get from giving them to others or receiving. So it's kind of a two-way. So gratitude is one. So if you're doing gratitude every day, you already got it. Kindness, which is another happiness habit, is also a positive emotion. So every time I do a random act of kindness, it's a win-win because not only do I get a boost of kindness, the person I do it for gets a boost of kindness. So it's a win-win on both sides. And kindness also, when you give out acts of kindness, it also raises your self-esteem. So there's a little bonus there as well. And it's very simple. If you can just do one random act of kindness a day, I mean, do more, but just getting one, you'll notice a boost in your own happiness. But it literally could shift somebody else's life. And it could be very easy. It could be holding the door open, be asking someone how they are. It could just be smiling. We have a positive psychology intervention where you smile at 10 people a day. That's it. Could be people you know, strangers. And every time you smile or laugh, you get a boost of endorphins as well. It could be given a compliment. But if you can do that every day, you will notice a difference. And I make sure that I do gratitude every day and I do at least one random act of kindness. I always try to do more, but there's certain days you don't feel like it. You're working from home. You're not near anybody and it's harder.
You don't see 10 people.
Right. But I have my dog, so I'll take him on an extra long walk or do some extra playing or just send somebody a text, mix in the gratitude. Like, just want to tell you I love you. Thank you so much for being my friend. Anything like that. Yeah. It's so easy to do. It's just, again, what I love about positive psychology, and you said in the beginning, it's common sense. I still remember when I first started teaching and I was doing a social work conference. And a lot of the social workers were like, such common sense, but we just forget to do it. And that's the absolute truth. We get wrapped up in life. We don't think about it. We're always on the go and don't realize that if we just stopped and added this to our routine, which again, would not change your schedule or cost you a dime, we can make a difference for ourselves and everybody around us. So every day, gratitude, kindness. Now, as for positive emotions, negativity is stronger than positivity. So it takes 3 positive emotions to balance out 1 negative. That's how much stronger negativity is. So we're going to have negative emotions, right? We watch the news in the morning. There you go. You drive anywhere in the world. You're hitting traffic. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe you couldn't find parking. Maybe your kids were having a bad day. Maybe you didn't sleep. So we're always going to have the negative. So you want to add in as many as you can, knowing that it takes 3 positive emotions to balance out that 1 negative.
And you really do feel that, don't you? Like if you really think about it, when you're feeling negative emotions, like you said, like if someone just takes your parking spot, like you instantly just get like
you want to kill them
and angry. And you feel that so much more deeply than like if you walk by a stranger and they smile at you and you're like, oh, so like you really do. That makes sense that it takes 3 positive emotions to kind of, counteract 1 negative emotion, because the negativity you feel so deeply when it happens to you. Right. Yeah. So I think that's a very valid point. I also wanted to ask you, so about random acts of kindness. We talked about like maybe you do work from home and maybe you don't see a lot of people throughout your day, but you can still get those same positive emotion boosts by like texting people, right? Like you, I think you mentioned like texting a friend saying, I'm so grateful for your friendship. I really love you, whatever it may be. Texting your kids, texting your spouse, whatever it is. Can you get that same boost not from a live interaction?
Live is always better, and there's no doubt. But yes, absolutely, you can get it from a phone call. You can get it from a Zoom. You can get it from a text. You do what you can. And again, it doesn't even always have to be a gratitude thing. It could just be, like I said, literally just spending an extra 10 minutes doing something for my dog, right? Or when the mailman comes and you go out, instead of just grabbing it, saying, hi, how are you? Right? Literally, there's little things that we don't think about. Or like you're taking your dog for a walk and you pick up some of the litter out there. And if you really can't find anybody else, just watching an inspirational video or a TED Talk, that'll give it, because inspiration and hope are 2 positive emotions. And you can get that from watching an inspirational video, a TED Talk, learning something new. And that's another positive aging. Like when we learn something new every day, 1, it's great for our cognitive skills. And we want to keep that up to keep our memory, our attention span, our focus. Think of your brain as a muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. So when we learn something new, it gives us that growth, and it's something that is a positive aging tip, makes us happier. But again, we get that hope and inspiration when we learn new things. It's exciting. So yeah, you can do it any way you want. So if worst comes to worst, you're homesick, you're not going to see anybody, you got COVID, you're trapped in your room, put on an inspirational video, put on a TED Talk, or call somebody.
Right.
or a Zoom or whatever you have to do to get it. But you'll start, and it could be as simple as, maybe you're making lunch for your kids tomorrow when you normally don't. Or you put a note in their lunchbox just saying, like, have a great day. Or you do it for your spouse, or you leave a note on the kitchen table. Everybody have a good day today. It could be that easy. It doesn't have to be anything time consuming or cost anything. We used to think of random acts of kindness, like somebody pay your toll, buy you a cup of coffee, pay your parking meter. I mean, those are great if you want to, but it has nothing to do with that. You can do it. And again, just the smiles makes that much of a difference.
Yeah. Okay, so talking about gratitude and positive emotions, I want to get into sort of this emotion that your latest book is about. Your latest book is called Worthy, and which really ties into the feeling of unworthiness.
Yeah,
and I think that this feeling of unworthiness is really something that a lot of women in midlife, I think a lot of people, period, but I think women in midlife really struggle with this feeling of unworthiness, specifically because especially at a time when like your kids are getting older and your life is changing, whether you stayed at home with your kids and now you're trying to figure out what your next step is, or maybe you've been a working mom the whole time, but now you're just focusing on, your kids have left the nest, like all these different, whatever it may be, it's for everyone. Something's changing in your life besides physically.
Right.
Mentally, we're changing. Our thoughts are changing. And I think a lot of times women feel very unworthy. They feel like, I am not good enough. Who am I to deserve happiness or joy? They stay in stuck relationships. They stay in stuck friendships. They tolerate a lot more. Like, we are just literally these beings of feeling unworthy at this time in our life. And so I really want to talk about your new book, Unworthy, and sort of why you decided to write this book, and where you say it explores the hidden causes of unworthiness. I'd love to know what some of those are.
Well, so I wrote the book a few years back, probably like 4 or 5 years back, and it was a very hard book to write because of a lot of my own personal stuff. So for a lot of us, we're feeling unworthy all the way back from childhood. I mean, it could go back that far, which makes sense because most of our beliefs are formed between birth and like 8, 9 years old. Yeah. So if you had a dysfunctional childhood like me, and whether it was, verbal or emotional or physical, whatever you've dealt with will stick. It's like a downloaded program, like a computer program stuck in you. And it'll stay there. I mean, I have clients in their 70s dealing with now, literally. And it doesn't have to be your childhood. It could be bullying. It could be a trauma of any type. But it causes unworthiness. And as I've been working in the field for a long time, what I have noticed, and men can feel unworthy too. I don't want to make it just women.
Absolutely.
But women do struggle more. And I think part of the reason why is because this is changing now with the newer generations. But whether you're a baby boomer, Gen X, millennial, most of us were raised with, you're a woman, you're going to nurture and take care of everybody else. And you should be on the bottom of the priority list. And, for a lot of us, we stayed in that. So unworthiness was like shining through with so many of my clients because it seems to be the root problem for a majority of almost everything we deal with. We don't feel good enough. We don't feel enough. And that goes into work where we have imposter syndrome. It goes into people pleasing, which affects us both at work and personally as well, where we can't say no. We don't ask for help. We don't know how to delegate. We have constant guilt. It brings us down to have low self-esteem. We doubt everything we do. And it really affects our lives. So, one of the things to think about is, do you feel unworthy? And it doesn't have to be in all areas of your life. Like, self-esteem can vary, right? I had a client, I always remembered this, who was a lawyer. She had such high self-esteem in her practice. She made great money, financial career. Her self-esteem was through the roof. When it came to relationships, dating, and love, she was on her 3rd divorce and her esteem was down. And she just didn't feel worthy in that area of her life. For some people, it affects everything they do. It's different for everybody, so we can't judge it and we can't compare ourselves to others. It's just noticing, do you feel unworthy and how does it show up for you? Is it fear that you're constantly paralyzed? Do you have perfectionism and control issues, low self-esteem, always doubting yourself, imposter syndrome? perfection. I said perfection already. I'm sorry. People pleasing, which we, used to call the good girl syndrome. Do you not do any self-care? Because that's one of the big issues too. We don't do any self-care. And growing up, I don't think any of us saw our moms or grandmothers or aunts or siblings taking care of themselves or even using the buzzword self-care because it didn't exist. I mean, it's just new. So for a lot of us, it's just kind of that root of everything we do. So it's really about, one, being self-aware. Do I feel this way? And when people realize, oh my God, yeah, I'm a perfectionist. I just thought that's who I was. But then when they realize, yeah, it's the fear of failure. And I don't want people to think that I'm not good enough, or I'm so afraid that I'm not going to be good enough. So I either do it perfectly or I procrastinate, which is not a sign of laziness. It's a sign of fear. Like procrastination. Okay. Maybe, in my 25 years of teaching college, right, 17, 18-year-olds to their 20s, even adults, I've maybe seen 5% that procrastinate over laziness. Most of the time it's fear of failure, fear of success, fear of both, or overwhelmed when you're too stressed out and you have too much going on and you're just stuck. But when people start realizing, oh my God, yeah, I have this paralyzing fear that, I can't move forward. I never realized it's, because I didn't know if I could, if I'm not going to be good enough. And it's really kind of noticing it in yourself, because if you're not self-aware of what it is, you can't change it. And that's really the first key. And I know I have dealt with it my whole life. I mean, even going through counseling myself in graduate school, I still have bursts of it, because even when you go through it and you feel like you've healed from a lot of it that caused it, we still have triggers. Like I had a client that was doing really well, but then unfortunately went through a divorce and that triggered all her self-worth. And that's normal too, remembering that we're going to have triggers. But if we know what they are, or, we know that they're going to happen, you could put yourself through counseling or do the work that works for you to bring yourself back to that self-worth. And knowing that we're just all worthy in general, just being here, being born, you are worthy. You don't have to prove yourself, but it is so hard to change. I think that is the hardest thing to change. Yeah. I really do.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't disagree. And that was going to be my next question. So, okay, so once you notice it and you can, pinpoint maybe where in your life you are feeling stuck because you are fearful and having that feeling of unworthiness, you're not good enough. How do you change it? How do you flip the script to change the way that you're thinking and then take action against that change?
So if it's deep rooted or it's been there for a while, I would suggest doing counseling. Always. Okay. Coaching is really great for mindset, but it's more for moving forward. So if you're having a lot of past trauma or baggage you're dealing with, I would suggest doing it with counseling. If you are doing it alone or it's not that deep or you can handle it yourself, then the first thing I always tell people to do is kind of a CBT exercise of, for about a week, being mindful. I don't want you to obsess about it, but being mindful of what words and phrases you use over and over again. Not everything, but like you said, when you're driving, when you first wake up in the morning, right before you go to sleep, or if you wake up in the middle of the night or whatever, what comes up for you? Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. Like for me, what always comes up from childhood, because that's all I ever heard from my earliest memories, is you're so stupid. Why are you so stupid? You're so stupid. So being aware of what it is, because even after graduate school and counseling in my 20s, in my 30s, I still wasn't aware that it was still that deep. Like literally one time I had a fight with my husband. Don't even remember what the fight was about. That's how irrelevant that was. But he stopped me. He goes, why do you always say, what do you think, I'm stupid? I didn't even really do it. He said, you cross your arms and always go, what do you think, I'm stupid? And it stopped me in my tracks enough to go, oh my God. So then I asked my family, like my siblings, my friends, I'm like, do I do that? And they're like, yep. Like that's my defense mechanism when things get, And I realized that, oh my God, this is, even though I've worked through a lot of my past and forgiveness and healing with my parents, it's still there. And anytime I got to a bad place, I would automatically assume that people thought I was stupid, even though, as my husband said, he never thought it. He never called me it. It was just my own inner worth of feeling that way. And then I even realized going back, like I went to grad school to prove to my parents I wasn't stupid, but then I stopped and didn't get my doctorate because I was afraid I really couldn't do it. And now I'm like, I'm in my 50s. It's too late. I don't want to do it. I just don't want to go back to school. But exactly. I would have went straight if I thought I could. Right. And it has phased my life so much. So I had to write for about a week. And there's different CBT exercises to do, but this is a simple one. So just writing whatever common phrase or sentence keeps coming up. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm fat. I'm ugly, whatever it is for you. Writing it down just so you're aware of it.
Yeah.
Once you're aware, then you can challenge that thought. So what I did when I, realized that mine was that I always thought I was not smart enough or dumb, I started writing literally a list of all my accomplishments and what I have done to actually realize how my belief system was not based on truth or fact. Because most of our belief systems are either limited, they're old and outdated, or they're not true. My father talked like that because his father talked like that, and he didn't know any better, and he didn't change it. And that's what unfortunately happened. But it didn't mean it was really about me. Like, I literally had to go back and ask my brothers and sisters. My mom barely remembered, but I'm like, did I walk and talk and do all the milestones on time? And they were like, yeah, nothing was wrong. Now, unfortunately, when we went to school in the 70s or 80s, there was no real preschool where you had a curriculum. So I can't say, but there was no IQ testing or anything.
Right.
Preschool or nursery school or kindergarten was really a half a day, and it was just snacks and playing, right? So, but there was no signs of any reason for me to be called out, no learning disorders or anything. So it was just all a belief system, because a belief is just something you hear over and over again and gets downloaded, but it doesn't mean it's true or even based on any fact. So I wrote out everything most college professors are not stupid. I did get a 3.9. I did get into grad school. I paid for it and got this GPA, literally to just see it. It's like a fact check, and to see it and really see that, oh my God, this is not true. And that was such a aha moment for me, because I really believed it was so true. And seeing on paper the facts and how different they were very eye-opening for me. I had a client who really thought she was very overweight. And when she came to me, she looked great. But she spent a majority of her life overweight. And her parents were trying to be helpful by saying, don't eat that. No, that doesn't look good on you. You're overweight. But they thought they were helping her. And then she got bullied at school. And even though she has lost her weight, feels good mentally, physically, and everything, she's done this hard work, she still feels overweight. And just putting everything down and getting on the scale and just looking at it was like, oh my God, I'm really not. And it was just an old belief, because yes, maybe she was that. I didn't know her back then, but she really believed that back then, but it's not even who she is today. She would get tired walking up steps. Now she can, walk, run. She does marathons. She could chase her kids. None of it's true anymore, but it's so ingrained and so downloaded, and you're on autopilot that you don't even realize it. So right there is a place to just, one, become self-aware, then self-aware, narrowing it down of what really is, how it affects your life, and then challenging those thoughts. And then every time that negative thought comes up, I call it just stopping it. Just literally, every time you hear it, it's just, I hear I'm stupid. I'm like, nope. And you could do whatever you want. Some people visualize a stop sign. It depends if you're a visual person or hearing. Some people visualize stop sign, a red light. Other people hear in their head, no, stop. I have a client who said her daughter used to go talk to the hand, so she would visualize that as a way to pattern interrupt and go, nope, this is not true. And you can say what your new belief system is or just stop it. But it takes time. It took you years to get to that point. It's not going to change overnight. And it took years. And it took a lot of
sometimes a lifetime, right?
Yeah, it takes hard work. And again, you're going to have triggers that stop it. And now it doesn't really happen to me. When it does, I pick it up instantly and I'm like, nope, not going there. Literally. But it took 15 years to get to that place. And even with counseling, I still needed to do more work. Because again, life is a roller coaster ride with ups and downs, and things are going to challenge you and trigger you. And again, even though I did a lot of healing, I didn't even realize how deep it actually was, that the belief still stayed there, even though I wasn't even angry anymore at my parents. It was still so ingrained. So that's why I think sometimes counseling is the best route. Or if you're just trying to shift the pattern, then coaching can be your best route. But really knowing, and self-compassion. Yeah. Asking yourself, are you talking to yourself the way you would talk to somebody you care and love? If you are talking to yourself in a way that you wouldn't talk to your siblings, your best friend, your kids, then you're not treating yourself right. And self-compassion, and again, starting self-care. Doing things for yourself, even though it's going to feel awkward and uncomfortable, do it anyway. It takes time to get to that place where it feels normal. The same with saying no or asking for help. You got to go through it. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel painful because you're stepping outside your comfort zone. but it does get easier with practice. You know, I have a client who hated the word no. Now it's like her favorite word. I think she might overuse it, but it took a good 6 months to a year before she felt comfortable. And now she's like, oh, I love doing this. Like, it means I'm making myself a priority, which makes me a better person, a better mom, a better friend, a better wife.
Right.
So really doing those things, and I'm simplifying it because it's a much harder process, and it is a process and a journey. It does not happen overnight. So give yourself grace.
Yeah, no, I think those are all extremely important points, and especially it's a process and it is a journey, and it's about the habits that we create every single day. You know, this isn't like a quick fix. You can take a pill and all of a sudden there's joy and your life is so much better. And it does take work, and it takes the ability and the willingness, I think, to go inside and, like you said, examine and challenge maybe why we have some of these, deeply held beliefs that are limiting, or outdated beliefs that are just not true anymore. And I love your suggestion about challenging those beliefs, because I think when you look at the facts and you really look at your life and what you're doing, how are you challenging those beliefs? And maybe you're not living up to your, highest potential right now. But even in that challenging, looking at that, I think can help you realize, okay, well, maybe these are the steps I need to take in order to do that, knowing that you are worthy and that you can do it. So tell my listeners, Diane, where can they learn more about you and your coaching and find your book?
So you can find me at my website, which is just my name, dianelang.org. And my book can be found on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, wherever they sell books. And thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure and a great conversation.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for being here. I really did love this conversation. I think that everything that we talked about is just so valuable to literally everyday life. Changing the way that we think, changing some of our simple daily habits can truly change our entire world moving forward. And you have offered some really amazing, real life, valuable tips that people can start doing today, to make that shift and to make that change. So thank you so much. And we'll be sure to link everything in the show notes. But again, thank you for being here. And guys, thank you for listening to the Suburban Warrior podcast. We love that you're here. We are redefining midlife wellness with grit and grace. And we'll be back next week with another amazing Suburban Warrior here to share her story with you. Till then, see you guys. Have a great week.